The Summoner class, we all love it, right? As the name suggests, this is a class that is based on having minions to help you progress and survive. While they might not be the sharpest in the early stages, they get progressively better as I advance through the game. Now, what makes this run special is the difficulty that I'm going to play on, it being Master Deathmode, a difficulty that has been requested a lot of times before, a difficulty that can get even bosses like King Slime to give me a really hard time. So yeah, I am Phantasm and this will be the Master Deathmode Summoner experience. Now, while the world generates, I will present the general rules for this run as well as some other details that might be important. Regarding world details: large world, master mode difficulty, Crimson Evil with a random seed of course. Regarding general rules, as the title implies, I will play only as a summoner, so the only weapons that I can use are minions, whips, sentries and any other weapon that has summon damage as a part of a tooltip. I will also be allowed to use classless weapons as there are only 3 of them in the entire game: the Aestheticus, the Lunic Eye and the Eye of Magnus. Again, as the title implies, I will play on the Master Deathmode difficulty, which is almost the equivalent to how Melis mode was a few years ago and can make some early fights that were supposed to be easy extremely hard, almost unbearable or totally random. If there will be cases of me rage quitting, I will simply have to take a break, drink some water, take a deep breath and try again. I will not be allowed to switch on Master or Revengeance only. Once Death Mode is activated, it remains like that. Regarding progression, any skip is alright as long as it doesn't imply cheesing. For instance, using the gravitation potion in order to get the slime god defeated is definitely not allowed. Other skips such as Poltergeist before Providence or early Leviathan are allowed and they might be done for extra entertainment. Regarding the quality of life mods, I will not be allowed to buy treasure bags from the operator at all. I will not be allowed to drink potions added by the alchemist mod. I will not be allowed to use infinite money glitch from the architect NPC and will definitely not use the world wrapper that allows me to teleport anywhere on the map. Damage from other sources such as NPCs, lava pools, armor sets and accessories is allowed, even though I will try to stay as far away as possible from making specific invasion farms, especially after Plantera. Okay, so simply put, Summoner class, Master Deathmode difficulty, little quality of life usage and not abusing specific features. I guess this wraps it all. Let's start this adventure, shall we? Hello wonderful people and welcome to my Terraria world. This is your host Phantasm and today I will introduce you to my Summoner adventure on Master Deathmode, a difficulty that has been requested a lot of times before, but I avoided it since I knew it was kind of unfair and annoying. You know what they say, you can run but you cannot hide, and since I got some spare time in real life, I decided to finally give this an attempt and see how it would go. The adventure starts with me finding some giant trees to the right, exploring them and hoping for a finch staff, but being unlucky and finding the leaf and the living wood ones, which yeah, I could shimmer, but that would take ages just for the bird. I got really lucky to see an exposed pyramid, so I dug down, got in and found the best movement accessory in this world, a sandstorm in a bottle. A double jump accessory is so good that I would love to get one in real life. Past the pyramid, a crimson biome generated, hence the jungle being on the left side, but that's not what I care about at this moment. How about I go down and maybe not die? How about I smash a single crimson heart and then go back home like nothing happened? I decided to check the left surroundings as well, hoping that I will eventually find a good cave, but unfortunately all I have reached was a dead end, so back home I guess. Past the crimson biome, there it was, a nice cavern, as well as the calamity structure from the ice biome with some really useful accessories. I decided to go down and start looking for some loot, and since the only minion I had was a squirrel, I started using blocks to keep the enemies away from me rather than engaging in fights. I really love the fact that I kept on finding life crystals there and the enemies weren't really a threat right now. One blizzard in a bottle later, I found myself digging around here, summoning the squirrel so it can defeat the random flakes that just spawned. I was also lucky to find a lot of precious gems, especially diamonds, which are required for this part of the run. Then I kept on getting fresh spelunker potions as I ran out of the effect, so I guess I will keep on mining. I continue my epic gamer mining session, and would you take a look at that? A ghost that randomly spawned? Well, luckily the ghost just hovers at the same height, so I can just stay here and let the squirrel do the dirty job for me. Finding the frozen Drayden laboratory wasn't on my bingo card for this part of the run, but do I complain? Not at all. The spelunker potion luck continues as I open yet another chest that also has some McFlurry boots. We're in for some sweet treats, a frozen key and a mount that I will probably not use. After a long while, I finally reached the stone layer, mining obsidian, getting some extra crimtane, looting more Drayden bases and turning on a lot of traps with a single click on this chest. At one point I almost died, so I recalled back home and took a deep breath, even though this was not hardcore. But honestly, it would have sucked really bad if I actually died in there. Some more inventory management later, I decided to go back and explore even more when this happened. Well, that ain't happening anytime soon, so let's go somewhere more safe if I can say so, and get to craft some important items such as the Magiluminescence, the Fling Staff, which will help a lot, as well as an entire pumpkin armor set. Oh, let's not forget about getting a brand new pickaxe and a new axe, why not? Why not venture down the hole in this annoying as hell place? I could get the Stormjaw stuff, but that if any Calamity enemy would spawn. I am not joking, I spent 20 minutes in here and no Calamity enemy except for this Ghost Bell have spawned. Yeah, at this point I was just thinking that the spawns have been blocked by the ongoing Goblin army, even though that sounds a bit unrealistic. I guess I will do the Goblin army, but do I have any ace up my sleeve? Definitely, and it's nothing else but a lava bucket. Yeah, basically all I had to do was to summon the Flinxes when the sorcerers would spawn next to me. Other than that, this was a breeze. I definitely did not fall from here or almost died. Now, with an invasion complete, I could relax for a bit and craft something that I was missing, the Fling's fur coat. I kid you not, the first enemy that spawned as I got back here was this guy. Well, consider my theory. In the end, there it was, the Stormjaw stuff, an insanely good minion to have early on. Well, now it will be the time to finally work on a house, and this is the result, even though I don't even know what this is supposed to be. Perhaps just a temporary house so more NPCs can move in here. Exploration continued, with me getting in the giant beehive and finding nothing at all, then playing catch with my minions and dying to the local enemies. Yeah, the next step in progression will be to explore the underground jungle, and so it starts with me finding a band of regen. Then, of course, the maze, because this is a pattern that I have noticed in my latest runs. Flower Boots wasn't so bad, neither was the Feral Claws, but surviving in here and killing a lot of enemies kinda was, with me almost getting killed a few times and having to fall back for a little. After getting all the materials needed, I decided to head back home and craft the Snapthorn, a weapon so iconic that it changed the way the summoner class is being played, along with many other whips. Next up would be to actually make a house for me, adding one extra layer of wood for a more cozy feeling, then continuing with the outline, adding more details, and then placing a lot of walls to cover up the empty spaces. Then, after all of this has been done, it would be just reorganizing chests and moving specific NPCs in here. Yeah, I am kinda proud of this, not going to lie. I headed back to the mushroom cave and would take a look at that. 2 life crystals, not 1, not 2, but 3 chests, okay maybe 4, as well as the bound goblin, and guess what, yet another chest and even more life crystals. Honestly, this has been the luckiest cave I have ever found in my life. Just imagine this cave in a speedrun or a manhunt setting. Back home, I crafted the spirit glyph, then I also upgraded the Hermes boots and got the Frostpark boots. Next up, taking up to the skies and then being as Romanian as possible in the Drayden laboratory from the main planetoid, taking everything from here and leaving without any trace. Then reaching a floating island with a shiny red balloon, it being exactly what I was looking for. Then reaching another floating island and finding yet another shiny red balloon. Yeah, I was making a lot of progress as time passed, so that could mean only one thing. Some terraforming in here, some sunflowers in here, and I was ready to start the first boss fight ever, against no other than King Slime that is kinda fat. Well, not only it is fat, but somehow it's incredibly fast and deals a shit ton of damage. Well, I guess I will try something else instead. The Desert Scourge was a far better option from Annie's perspective, and it wasn't that bad either since I had a minion that does extremely well against the worms. Unfortunately, one moment where I got lost and that was it, yet another fail. I guess I will explore a little more, finding the dungeon and seeing that it is green. Green dungeon on the right side means the shimmer is between the beach and the jungle on the left side, and it's also the same for a green dungeon on the left side. I got the last flower needed for the semi-station, then I have reached the sulfurous seas where I have killed the Florida man in order to get the angler out of his mouth. Then got the angler killed by another Florida man so I could get the golden fishing rod. This is a thing from Calamity Mod and it was supposed to be removed, but since this is still in the game, why not use it? As I got it, I started doing fishing so I could get the Abyssal Amulet for extra damage, as well as the River Shark, which has 100% mining power in Calamity. I also decided to take a deep dive into the Abyss, but died as I was about to open a specific chest. Well, I kinda had an idea what that chest would have, so I wasn't going to give up yet. I went back and there it was, the Rusty Beacon prototype, a sentry that I have used before to kill the Wall of Flesh, so you know that will be good. Some reforges there and that will be it. Now, I was ready to start fighting bosses. Enjoy! Yep, the Desert Scourge was extremely easy with this loadout, so I was like, why not do this again? And so I did, multiple times. Obviously, after the Desert Scourge has been defeated, the Sunken Seas would be the next place to explore, with me killing Ghost Bells for the Voltaic Jelly, which didn't drop yet, then finding the Drayden Laboratory and representing my country even more, then fighting the Giant Clam, hoping for a quick victory, and since this was not Infernum, this was not going to be a problem at all, so here we go, I got a Medias, as well as the Voltaic Jelly after a lot of minutes. Now, you would think that I am more powerful, right? Well, nope, or maybe I was, I don't even know. It was certain that King Slime was just demolishing me, so I decided to switch to another boss that might be easier and more important to defeat. Enjoy the Eye of Cthulhu fight. This was pure chaos. The bosses really got buffed in Master Deathmode, and honestly I cannot wait to reach the endgame bosses. The Eye of Cthulhu dropped the Death Stare Rod and I had mixed feelings about this, so let's try another attempt against King Slime. Yup, not using this one. Well, I guess I will sleep a little. Good morning Terrarians. Good morning Brewer. Now, with a lot of buffs active, I can easily move on to defeating even more bosses, and the next ones to attempt are in the Crimson. I was cocky enough to try the Perforators first, knowing that it is way easier than the Hive Mind and also knowing that my minions would easily destroy the worms spawned by the boss. I usually just focus on the Broccoli Head, but this time I also decided to focus on the worms, especially because I knew I could easily kill them, meaning that I won't have to dodge them for the rest of the fight. However, it wouldn't take much for me to screw up really bad and get the Broccoli to hit me a lot of times and eventually kill me. Yep, awful. Actually, let's prepare even more, so let's craft a brand new armor set as well as expanding the arena even more. While I was working on the expansion, a wolf from Rover spawned, so guess what I'm getting? Hell yeah, the Rover driver is mine, so no need to pray for it in the late game stages. Other than that, here goes the Perforator fight. Again, I will not commentate during boss fights. Enjoy! Got it. Perforators defeated as well, so this can mean a lot of things. Firstly, I get a brand new minion and honestly I have no idea how this minion is. Then I go up to the skies and start mining Aerialite, killing more harpies in the process. Then after a few more angelic mining ASMR, I got back home and finally crafted the bundle of horseshoe balloons, as well as the Aerialite armor set, which was far better than the Victide one. Next up would be fighting the Brain of Cthulhu, and I'm telling you, this is the most messed up boss fight from the entire Pre-Hardmode. King Slime was bad, but it was nothing compared to this one, not even mentioning the loud noise. It's as if the developers wanted this to be impossible. Yep, dead. I decided to shift my focus towards killing the King Slime instead, knowing that I might actually have a chance now since it was just a DPS race. See, it was just a common it's me or him situation of mine. As the day started, I saw this guy aura farming next to my house and I decided to check him, see what he sells, buy the lifeform analyzer, then capture him and turn him into a DPS meter. All I could do now was to keep on trying the Brain of Cthulhu, but I wasn't successful at all. I remembered the fact that I could craft the Aestheticus, a classless weapon that I am allowed to use in this run, and this was far better for the first phase of the fight, but didn't really help afterwards. Seeing that I couldn't really do much against the brain, I was like, you know what, screw this, and spawned the slime god instead, and this time I won't use the gravitation potion cheesing strategy. Not going to lie, I expected this to go way worse considering the lack of a proper arena and the fact that this is Master Deathmode. This was so far so good up to one point where I just screwed up, so yeah, that was it. Now, considering that the slime god is really important, how about I expand the arena even more? Well, it helped, but I still messed up, twice, even for the third time. However, I have learned from my mistakes, so here goes the real fight where I managed to win. There we go. The slime god has been defeated a bit earlier than supposed, and that means a lot of things. I open the treasure bag and get the first adrenaline upgrade, and not only that, I also get the cream slime stuff, a minion that is definitely better than everything that I currently have. With the materials acquired, I could also craft the Strategel armor set, which is the best armor set from Pre-Hardmode. So yeah, now I am 100% ready to defeat the Brain of Cthulhu. Let's see how this goes. Finally, I didn't understand anything from this fight. Not only that, but the loud sounds also makes it really bad. Now, I was finally able to craft the Scab Reaper, which is the equivalent to the Corruption's Vile Feeder, but it definitely doesn't attack the same. It was the time to take a break from all of this. Go there, kill, go there, hunt down, go there, try to kill but die because of skill issue and so on. I had to do some side quests, finding the Shimmer being the first one, and it definitely wasn't right under the beach, but I still wanted to go in the underworld since I wanted to look for the Drayden laboratory from here and loot everything before eventually destroying the chest with yet another elevator. I estimated that the Shimmer might be right here, under the Crimson Chasm, considering that this is the midpoint between the beach and the edge of the jungle. I went down, looked for the long stone tunnels, and would you take a look at that, there was the Shimmer. Mana Crystal, the Life Crystal, the Pink Pearl, the Fruit, all have been thrown in the Shimmer for some permanent upgrades that are always welcome. Not only that, but I also built some houses in here for quick access. After this, it was just me mining some Hellstone and that was it. I got back home, crafted the Obsidian Rose and finally the Terra Spark Boots, the final upgrade from Vanilla for the running boots. Now, wanna hear a fun fact? You can actually get the Beast Loot before defeating Skeletron, but it requires a lot of luck. Apparently, the Sulfurous crates have a chance to drop a Beast Loot like weapons or accessories after the Slime God or the Wall of Flesh have been defeated. But if you think about the Beast weapons, these are unlocked by defeating Skeletron, right? Makes a lot of sense if you ask me. However, it would take a lot of time to get exactly the herring stuff, the chances being pretty low. But after a lot of time spent fishing and opening crates, I finally got it, so let's get the best reforges. Now, with almost the best loadout from Pre-Hardmode, the remaining bosses should be a breeze, right? Well, I built an arena in the giant beehive, then started fighting the queen bee, and honestly, this was pretty bad and you can probably tell how this went. However, I definitely didn't give up, so here I was again, ready for the revenge. Nice, the annoying Queen Bee has been defeated, and honestly this boss doesn't really give much, as I wasn't willing to grab the Hornet Staff or the Bee Armor set. I guess I will just move on to preparing for one of the worst fights yet. I started placing some platforms, not thinking how bad the next fight would actually be. I said that 3 rows would be more than enough. Then I went to the ice biome and made some houses for some more NPCs, and then, with the Wolfram battery that I have acquired in the building process, I also managed to craft the Jelly Charge battery, a Calamity specific summoner accessory that helps a lot. I was thinking of what else I could craft, then I have remembered that the Witch Doctor is in here and it sells the pygmy necklace during the nighttime. Yeah, I was ready, that's what I was saying to myself, knowing that Skeletron is just a goofy boss with 2 hands and some skull projectiles that barely get to hit me, totally ignoring the fact that Skeletron tends to teleport more and more as it gets closer to dying. I summoned Skeletron and there it was, a 4-handed boss that was totally ready to be brutally destroyed, or to brutally destroy me I suppose. I said, isn't there yet another boss so weak that I could defeat in a few seconds? Oh, there is? Fantastic. Gravelon goes down, and that means only one thing. I get the first rage upgrade. Other than that, there was nothing important that could change how the fight goes. I guess it will be just dying? How about I expand the arena? Nope, not a single chance, not even when a blood moon rises. It was also really annoying that I had to sleep for an entire day before I could try again, then when I tried, I just died. I took the rare decision of switching from full menacing to full warding, and then also switched to using the Aerialite set, then tried again but I still died. However, progress was being made with every attempt, so it wouldn't take much until I would have a good attempt. I did not give up, and this was the result. Yes, there we go. I swear to god this was the hardest fight yet in this run, and honestly I cannot wait to see what the Hardmode and the Endgame stages have prepared for me. With Skeletron being defeated and dropping extra bones, I was able to craft the Spinal Tap right before going in the dungeon. That was the next place to be explored, a place where I would save the mechanic, get the Cobalt Shield, get fooled by a light and thinking that it's a Bewitched table, and then accidentally finding the Dungeon Air Hive, a structure added by the Calamity mod, and then finally finding the Bewitched table. I was ready to craft the Eye of Night, but lacked some materials, so I guess I will defeat the Slime God for one more time, considering the fact that I am not allowed to buy treasure bags at all. The fight was easy as expected, so there it was, the Eye of the Night, the last summoner weapon to be crafted before I would enter Hardmode. I still had some tasks to complete before continuing with the Wall of Flesh, and the first one required a lot of iron. I wanted to make a railway system from one edge of the world to another one, a railway system that would go in a straight line and not upwards or downwards. A slime raid started, so I was like, how about I solve this the faster way? I did. Then I ventured in the underworld and started looting shadow chests since I wanted extra loot for extra money, and not only that, the shadow chests were the only source of life force and inferno potions, buffs that I really wanted and needed during the next fight. I also wanted to work on my house a little more since that big room looked so empty for so long. I decided to transform it into a museum, if I can say so, where I would put the best summoner weapons from each stage on display as well as the worn armor sets. Next up, right, you guessed it, making the arena in the underworld. It's funny that I almost chopped the chest from the Drayden laboratory. Yep, that was it. I said again, expecting the wall of flesh fight to be an easier one, not one that would get me bulked within 2 attempts. I am actually joking this time, because the wall of flesh fight was not really that problematic. 2 failed attempts, but 1 lesson learned. Play passive aggressive but predominantly defensive. Enjoy the last fight from this part of the game. With the wall of flesh defeated, I knew that 1/3 of this game has been complete, and honestly it was pretty bad already due to some bosses getting way too buff. I got home and would you take a look at that? The astral infection is right outside my house. I guess that will be a tomorrow problem. For now, let's just enjoy the fact that I defeated the wall of flesh and maybe start thinking about a plan for Hardmode. Or maybe just take a break and sleep for a little. Good morning Terrarians, good morning Phantasm. Welcome to Hardmode, a brand new stage that starts with me opening the wall of flesh treasure bag and getting a lot of emblems, as well as the firecracker, a whip so good that I will use it for a pretty long while. I didn't get the summoner emblem, but that was not a problem since Shimmer exists, so yeah, there we go I guess. Now let's start with the Hardmode adventure, shall we? The most logical step in progression would be to find a spider nest, and I was fine with this one, considering that black recluses can spawn outside the nest. This is a really important feature, since I could free some space around and then increase the spawn rates and profit. You can clearly see that a lot of enemies are spawning, especially spiders. A farming process that could take ages if not done properly, done in just a few minutes. Not only that, but the firecracker also helped a lot with the extra damage. In the end, I was able to craft the first armor set from Hardmode, as well as the spider staff, which wasn't much, but it was honest work. I was definitely not going to play with the spider staff, so I started looking for ways to get even stronger, and the ice clasper was the perfect minion for this part of the game. In vanilla, you can only get some new weapons such as the cool whip or the sanguine staff. But in Calamity, you can also get your hands on some really cool accessories that boost the number of minions, damage, and also have some other special effects like debuffs. One such accessory happens to be dropped by the Goblin Warlock, and hey, he's the first Shadow Flame, getting me with 1 extra minion slot and some Shadow Flame debuffs. Some more NPCs moving later, I also decided to proceed with some vanilla summoner progression, and that implies doing the most fun activity during a blood mode. Fish. Luckily, I had some sonar potions to help me with detecting the Dread Nautilus, and when it spawned, it was just a matter of dealing a lot of damage and surviving against the deadly attacks. At least, this was not Infernum, so in a few seconds I got my hands on the Sanguine stuff, which now when I'm editing I can mention that it was totally useless, but back when I was recording I had high hopes regarding the bats. Progression continues with me crafting the best accessory from this stage, then with crafting the caustic stuff, which was nothing but 2 extra debuffs, the Ichor and the Curse Flames ones. Soul of Night and Life Farming was also on my list, and after being done, I got the Grand Gelatin for better mobility. Then I went up to the skies and started hunting down a lot of enemies in here for a lot of instances of sunlight. Now, you might ask why. You see, I already inflict a lot of debuffs and I'm allowed to use whips, which can have the flask effect. Why craft the Ichor or Curse Flame flask when I already have the caustic stuff? why not get yet another debuff to be inflicted and get a new debuff I got, the Flask of Crumbling to be more precise. Now, after a lot of upgrades, the most logical thing to happen next would be to break the barrier that separates me from getting even more upgrades. That would imply to start defeating certain bosses such as the mechanical ones, since they're the most important in progression right now. The Aquatic Scourge is 100% a boss, but definitely not a mechanical one, but it has its major role. Now, the thing is that I didn't know that I was recording with an open mic and I was in a call with a friend of mine, so for personal reasons I will not include the audio. I summoned the Aquatic Scourge and you can already see that I was kinda powerful. The Ice Claspers are incredibly good against the worm bosses, so in no time the Aquatic Scourge has been defeated. Nope, I messed up. How about I explain the arena? How about I don't consider myself immortal? And consider myself bad at the game and as mortal as possible, I did. So there you have it, the Aquatic Scourge fight, where the Ice Claspers are clasping, the whip is whipping, Phantasm is... phantasmic? Yeah, I think I will call these kind of moments phantasmic from now on, and there will be a lot of them. Yep, the Aquatic Scourge has been defeated and now it's heavily raining with acid, but as bad as it would sound in real life, in Calamity this is cool since I could get some brand new, you guessed it, upgrades, the nuclear fuel rod to begin with. But wait, there is more, but unfortunately you might not be able to tell what is happening right here. Don't worry, it was just me killing a bunch of Orthoceras for the Orthocera shell, an incredibly underrated sentry. Then, killing the Aquatic Scourge for a few more times was on the checklist since I didn't get a specific weapon that I really wanted. A few adrenaline charges there and there, whips are whipping, minions are minioning, and finally, drops are dropping, with me finally getting the Deep Sea Staff, which is a minion that performs incredibly against the worm bosses. Is this better than the Ice Claspers? Well, I think you got your answer. Alcoholism. Now, what's next? Well, in Romania, there is a popular saying, when there's two, the power increases. As logical as it would sound, it also applies to the sentries from Terraria. In order to increase the number of sentries, I will need something called the Ward Table, which is dropped by the Dark Mage from the Old One's army with an 100% drop chance. Getting it would not be a problem at all. So there you have it, a bunch of Dark Mages killed and extra loot to be sold for extra money. With all these upgrades, moving on to a mechanical boss would be okay, I said. The Destroyer will be fine, I said. The Skeletron history would not repeat at all, I said. Well, yeah. Full of hope and courage, I summoned the Destroyer, noticing that I was dealing some damage, not going to lie, but dying shortly after. This fight was possible, but it would take a few deaths. I started processing things, I started the process of thinking, which is a rare event. If I wanted to win this, I had to keep some distance, but also deal some damage in the meantime. The classless weapons are allowed, so there goes the Lunikai, the second classless weapon from this run. Yeah, with this, I could keep my distance while trying to take down the probes at least. I kept on trying again and again, and I was progressing. I quickly realized that this was going to be a really fast fight. It was just a typical it's me or him kind of situation. Let's see how this goes. Insane DPS, countless lasers and probes, one dumb creeper. This was it, the first mech fight, a fight that changed the way I saw Master Deathmode. This was going to be brutal. Well, now let's continue with progressing, I guess, mining some mithril as well as some infernal suivit since I had a really cool plan for this part of the game. You know how in my regular runs I tend to avoid fighting some specific bosses, right? Well, it will not be the case in this run, since every boss might have a hidden purpose. Say, for instance, this is the Brimstone Elemental, a waifu that some of you might consider smashable. Now, ignoring all the kinks and bad jokes regarding this current situation, I want to mention that this boss is not hard at all. I have been avoiding this fight because I didn't really try to learn how to dodge the attacks, but rather just YOLO around. Well, this time, I try my best, so here goes yet another fight. Down she goes, and not only I get the waifu by my side, but I also get the Dormant Brimseeker, being exactly what I wanted. Now, if there is anything you need to know about the Dormant Brimseeker is that it is incredibly broken at this stage. Some might consider using this weapon against Plantera, Leviathan, or even Golem. Okay, maybe not Golem, but defeating Plantera and Leviathan sounds more realistic. Did I mention the Leviathan? Well, this is what I'm preparing for, ladies and gentlemen. This is the skip that I have been waiting for a while over the course of uploading videos on this channel, and now it's becoming a reality. I know I did the Leviathan pre-max before, even with pre-Hardmode weapons, but Revengeance mode is nothing compared to Master Deathmode. First things noticed, the fight starts with Anahita digging her head in the ground, this being the ritual to summon the Leviathan, if I can say so. In case you didn't figure out, I'm rewriting the Calamity lore, then the minions deal a lot of damage, this being great news. However, it won't take long until this would happen. Yeah, Anahita joins the fight, and that means only one thing, messing up, really bad. This was going to be really hard, so the only way to survive would be to resist as many hits as possible, and that is doable with some live fruits, a natural product available in your local jungle after wall flesh has been defeated. A natural product so tasty that I will be on a constant overdose. A natural product so rare that I have spent a while in here digging around, but getting all of them in the end. Now, with way more HP, this fight should be doable, right? Well, yes, but actually no. 600 HP means maybe surviving one extra hit, not the entire fight. However, progress was being made and I could feel my heartbeat increase. However, in a moment of stupidity, I messed up as usual, and yeah, back to calming down I guess. The number of attempts increased, the heartbeat increased as well, but probably because of high levels of caffeine. The number of feats that hit the table also increased, the will to give up also increased, and so at some point I said screw this and summoned the Calamitas Clone instead. Now, I know you might be saying, "Whoa, Phantasm, you're so cool, you defeated Calamitas before the mechs, so you can get the Entropy's Vigil, a stronger weapon to help you against the mechs or the Leviathan." Well yes, that was the plan, but I kid you not, it was worse than the Brimseekers. Seeing that there is nothing else that I can currently do, I decided to keep on fighting these guys, getting even more annoyed in the process, but also getting closer and closer to an eventual win. Well, in reality, I wasn't that annoyed or frustrated, but I wanted you to understand that this skip might not be the best choice, especially on Master Deathmode. You can all do it, but it comes with risks. Fortunately, this is a high risk, high reward thing, so you don't really lose much. After an estimate of 5 years and 10 million deaths, I have managed to defeat Anahita as well. Now, a lot of things are happening in the Abyss. I opened the treasure bag and there it was, the gastric belcher stuff, the minion that I was looking for, so that was fortunate considering that I don't have to do the fight again. As said, a lot of things are happening in the Abyss, and it was all worth it, since I could craft the barrel claw to begin with, then the Phantom Swarmer armor set, which was great under the water, but it's also fine in general. Upgrades, people, upgrades. Now, with some post-Plantera things in my loadout, you might think that the Twins fight would be a breeze, right? Well, sad news, nope. Isn't there another boss so underdeveloped that it cannot kill me at all and also get me with even more upgrades? Oh, there is? Wonderful! But it got me killed for a few times. However, it was better than any other option from this stage, so there goes yet another fight. Yet another post-Plantera boss defeated, yet another post-Plantera weapon in my inventory, the Borealis Bomber being a really cool weapon that I could use instead of the Runic Eye. Any updates on the Twins fight? I still suck at the game. Yay! This part took me back to my Sentries only run and there was a single weapon that I could think about, the Hive Pod, and get it, I did, along with the Starbuster Core, which is yet another accessory that gives a minion slot and some debuffs. Any updates on Twins? I still suck at the game Terraria. Any updates on Prime? Same as before. Well, this was bad and not being able to mine Chlorophyte was even worse since I was about to continue this run with yet another skip. It's true that I could fight Plantera in this place with all the ore scattered around and honestly, it wasn't that bad in the first phase. To my surprise, I was even able to load up Adrenaline and get to deal a lot of damage entering the second phase where things were about to spice up. And when I say spice up, I don't mean hot ketchup spice up. I mean Carolina Reaper combined with wasabi spiced up. Plantera transformed from a plant that barely dashes after losing the tentacles into a plant that dashes constantly, spawns spores all around, and also regenerates the tentacles that also absorb most of the damage done by me. Having Chlorophyte scattered around didn't help either. However, what I have noticed is that I am reaching the second phase every time, so it was just a matter of learning how to dodge and maybe keeping even more distance since the tentacles really suck. Maybe having even more space around here might help, especially at the end where Plantera goes nuts. There I was, ready to fight Plantera for one last time. Enjoy! A lot of things are now happening in the dungeon, so I placed a city buzzer right here and now I can start farming some dungeon enemies for the Morningstar, which is an incredibly good whip with a lot of base damage and a really good upgrade for me, since I have been using only the Firecracker for a really long while. Also, new dungeon content means Ectoplasm, and Ectoplasm means Pumpkin Moon, which is an event loved by all the summoners worldwide and there is no debate about it. However, if you're somewhat new to the game or don't really know much about the Summoner class, I feel obligated to explain the new content. To begin with, the Dark Harvest is a whip that can be acquired from the Pumpkin and it is better than the Morningstar. Then I can defeat the Morning Wood for a lot of Spooky Wood and the Necromancer Scroll. Then the Pumpkin can be killed again and again until it will drop the Raven Staff, which, I kid you not, might be the best summon weapon that I was about to use in this run. Okay, maybe not the entire run, but this part. After noticing that I got 750 Spooky Wood, as well as the accessories and weapons needed, I knew that it was over for now. No need to continue with the event, so let's skip the night. 750 spooky wood was needed for a full spooky armor set, which is a huge upgrade at this point. Then I can continue with even more upgrades such as the status blessing, which also stacks up with the papyrus scarab. Pretty cool loadout, right? Let's see how cryogen gets melted. Yep, no words. Let's also continue with the Queen Slime. That was easy, but now the question is, any updates on twins? Well, finally, some good news. Honestly, I don't know if they were meant to be defeated with such loadouts, or is it just me having severe skill issue. Any updates on Prime? Well, getting somewhere, but still far away, so again I said screw this and went in the jungle temple, hoping that I could progress even more. With this loadout, I was thinking that Golem would be just a random walk in the park where the most unfortunate event would be for a leaf to cross my path, but it turns out that Master Deathmode is making this way worse than I could have imagined. Did I even say screw this again? Not at all. At this point, it was just freestyle, but it somehow was going to work, so enjoy the Ravager fight. I don't know what happened, but it happened, so there goes Ravager as well, and that changes a lot of things. You see, Ravager drops the fleshy geode, which also drops the scoria bar. It can be used to craft live alloys, and with those I can finally get the Star Tainted Generator, an accessory that combines those accessories that give one extra minion slot and a lot of debuffs. Now, being able to get scoria bars before Golem, my focus shifted toward defeating Ravager again and again, and it would take a few attempts before I could get enough bars so I could craft the Seismic Hampick, a pickaxe that, guess what, it can mine scoria ore. It might not sound big, but for me this is really important because I could craft a brand new armor set as well as new wings, and not only that, I can craft more life alloys and get the Resurrection Butterfly, which is the best minion that you can get at this point of the game without defeating any other bosses. With all these upgrades taken into consideration, it was finally the time to defeat Skeletron Prime and end with the mechanical bosses issue once and for all. Skill issue or not, I think we can all agree on the fact that this is perhaps the most broken and unfair fight in the entire Calamity mode. Here we finally go. I can finally get some new upgrades such as the Blood Orange and the Miracle Fruit. There wasn't any other new upgrades, considering that most of the things that I already have are better than an Avenger Emblem or the Angel Threads. However, speaking of movement, isn't there a certain boss who I like to bully that could give me some of the best wings from Hardmode? Oh, there is? Fantastic! The butterflies are butterflying, the bomber is bombing, the bubbles are bubbling, and me, Phantasm, and phantasming once again. This is a classic, but wait, there's more. Fish on wings, my beloved, there we go. With the mobility issue also being fixed, I think you all know what might come next. The one and only, the Empress of Light, a boss so powerful that if fought during daytime, it can one-hit. A boss so powerful that I wanted to gear up as much as possible so this won't take ages. A boss so powerful that maybe I should stop exaggerating and actually tell you that it was fine. However, I decided to take on another boss instead, hoping for a quick victory. And have that quick victory, I did. I swear to god, adrenaline, a good weapon, and cheesing Osrodeus got to be one of the best activities ever. However, I open the treasure bag and get nothing useful from it, then I try again, knowing that this will be quick, and there it was, the Star Spawn Helix Staff, a weapon that I thought it was really good. It was decent for the Empress of Light at least, so let's see how this goes. Lasers are lasering, Phantasm is phantasming once again. I open the treasure bag and I get nothing useful but the soaring insignia, which yeah, doesn't give infinite flight time like in vanilla, but it boosts my mobility. This can help me in my further fights, and you want to know something cool about the Empress of Light? Even if defeated during the night, she can still give the Terra Prisma, it being a rare weapon, so there is no need to defeat her during daytime. After getting the Terra Prisma, it was just a matter of time until I would also get the Kaleidoscope, it being the best whip that I can get in this run since there is no new whip added by Calamity and I am not playing with any whip add-on. Now, are there any updates on Golem? No, but I am thinking of skipping it as well, so before I could do that I would need an Abyssal suit, then I would have to kill the idol list, and this guy has a chance to drop the Eidolon tablet. Wonder what that does? Well, do you want to skip Golem and defeat the cultist? This is what it does. With the loadout that I had, the cultist fight should be yet another walk in the park, but sometimes bad defense could happen, such as me seeing the 3 words followed by the 3 dots in the middle of the screen. I was thinking of ways to cheese this guy, and would you take a look at that? Huh, looks like this could work. Long live the Shrimpy Truffle, let's go! Having Deus already defeated means that I can move on straight to upgrading some more accessories, getting the Status Curse as well as the Deific Amulet, a brand new minion that is the Stardust Dragon, as well as an Angelic Sound and the Eye of Magnus, the third and final classless weapon to be crafted and used in this run. Next up would be to take down the pillars, and you can guess how I managed to remove the shield that covered the Nebula pillar, just like that. Next up was the Solar Pillar, and what the hell is happening? That was in the desert, and deep below the desert lies the Sunken Seas, where I had to come and defeat the giant clamp so I could get my hands on the Molus Husk and then use it to craft the Absorber. I could also go back in the temple, where you might notice walls with platforms used, so the fireballs get stuck between the walls and don't get to bounce around that much. Golem was still bad, but it was doable, so it was again just a DPS race. Golem defeated, a lot of things happening in the jungle such as the Pandemic 2.0, and this is an opportunity for me since I could get some more final upgrades before taking on Moonlord. Plaguebringer Goliath is yet another boss that I usually skip, but in this run it is really useful since it drops the materials needed for the Plaguebringer armor set. This happens to be the best armor set in Hardmode, so I guess I am all set up and ready for Moonlord. Let's continue with the remaining pillars. Let's wrap this up once and for all. And wrap this up I did. Really nice, I could add. How does one get hit by the laser? Well, we all make mistakes, that's what makes us humans after all. Now, I guess it will be the time to finally fight and defeat the moon. Enjoy! With Moonlord shaking, I know that 2/3 of this run have been complete, and look at this wall of messages. This is definitely something I don't want to wake up to after going for a night out. Hey, didn't I forget something? The house looked kinda empty, not going to lie, so why not fill the room of fame, if I can say so, with the weapons that were the best in Hardmode? Also, why don't I sleep for a little? After all, it's been a long adventure, and it's not over yet. The worlds did not collide. Moonlord defeated, new tools to be crafted, new places to be explored or excavated if I can say so, and a brand new armor set that will help me a lot with the upcoming tasks. Also continued with getting the Enchanted Axe, which is a classic summoner weapon from Calamity. Then I also crafted the Flowers of Mortality, which are really good, but the best weapon yet to be crafted was the Tactical Plague Engine, which required the Black Hawk thingy. So down to the Wall of Flesh I go, and get the Black Hawk remote I did not, but I got a lot of unholy essences so I could craft the Rune of Cost. And now you might be asking, why the Rune of Cost? Well, there was a specific boss that I wanted to kill in the underworld, and no, it was not the Guardians, it was Cygnus, and this guy was not hard at all. I summoned it again, so there goes the first endgame fight. Enjoy! There we have it, Cygnus defeated. This guy drops the Twisting Nether, a material that, combined with the Dark Shard while also waiting for the Hollow to spread, can also be combined with the Light Shard in order to craft the King of Constellations, Tenryu, a summoner weapon that spawns 2 dragons that are incredibly good. Now you might know where I will go. Exactly, the dungeon, since I was about to do a skip that I always do in all of my runs as of recently. Defeating Poltergeist early on is not something never seen before, and it's not as impressive as Leviathan before mechs, Slime God before evil bosses, and so on. But it is really important for me, especially in this run. While I kept on working on the arena, my summons kept on killing the enemies, so eventually Poltergeist would spawn, and yeah, this would go exactly as anyone would expect. However, this was not going to be a really hard fight, so enjoy. Poltergeist has been defeated and a lot of things are happening in the Abyss. I opened the treasure bag and don't really get much out of it, but notice that I am able to craft the Eldritch Soul artifact, which might help me a little, as well as the Phantomic artifact, which is the final upgrade for the Spirit Glyph. One abyssal diving suit later, I found myself in the 4th layer of the Abyss, hunting down that specific enemy that I love taking down after Poltergeist, and not only it, since I was also interested in getting a brand new summoner weapon, which happens to be dropped by the Colossal Squid, and get it, I did on my first kill. There it was, the Omega Blue armor, so what comes next is a standard boss rush of mine where I kill all the bosses prior to Poltergeist. Yeah, it was coming all together. Going to the jungle and being an epic gamer, mining all the Willy Blooms so I could craft the Elderberry, as well as the Blossom Pickaxe, as well as the Profane Soul Artifact, an accessory that I have used before and I know it is cool. It spawns the 3 Profane Nuggets around you to defend you, heal you and hunt down enemies. Yeah, I think you know what comes next, right? The hot dog that ate my life with sweet chili, but I'm not going to rant about this. I will let you enjoy a short montage with my deaths, this being only 30% of all the fails. It was frustrating and I have been using all kinds of combinations between weapons and accessories and I was like, why can't this boss get killed as fast as this Stormweaver does? Progress was being made with every attack more or less, with me optimizing the DPS and deciding on the minions that I was going to use. However, one bad mistake and a sharp Devourer of Gods would be all I needed to die, not to mention the laser walls. Eventually I would win, so here's the full fight. Finally, there we go. This guy is dead and oh my god, this took ages. Hours and hours of switching armor sets, weapons, accessories, strategies, playing safe and getting eaten alive. It's all over. Again, I opened the treasure bag and don't get really much, but now is the event season, starting with the pumpkin moon, which is a bit more important than the other two events since I could craft the core with Earthbringer stuff, which used to be really cool. Well, turns out it is not as cool right now, so I decided to craft the Cosmic Viper engine, as well as the Mirror of Kalandra being one of the best summoner weapons to be used in this run. It spawns 1 war axe, few swords, few bows to help me with extra damage, and you can definitely see the difference. Don't worry, that was still a part of this event. I also managed to craft the Dark Sun Ring, as well as the classic Post Devourer upgrades like Shield, Boots, Nucleogenesis. Then it was me defeating the Devourer of Gods again since I needed more Cosmite, and one thing is that I am still not immortal, so I should pay extra attention. However, it didn't really take a lot of time to defeat this guy again, so shortly after I got my hands on the Fearmonger armor pieces, but still required more Souls of Fright, which this time was definitely not a problem acquiring since the Prime Minister is not dangerous at all. There you have it, yet another armor set. I started working on the computer, getting the sponge in the process, then also killing one more giant clam since I wanted more Molus Husk so I could also craft the Amalgam, a top tier accessory. Then I also crafted the Endo Hydra stuff. It was the time to test the loadout and the weapons that I had. There is no better way of doing this than defeating a less powerful boss. I wanted to spawn the Old Duke, but it seems like the fishing rod was bad, so I crafted a way better one and there it was. Enjoy! Open the treasure bag and there was no Cadaverous Carrion, so you know what that means. Doing this guy again, for yet another time and for one more time. With all the weapons ready, I started fighting Yaron as well, and I want to mention that this fight was not hard at all. I definitely did not die. Not going to lie, I started singing the Romanian anthem right before defeating Yaron, praying that I won't die again in the last second. The dragon fruit was all mine and it gave me all the power to continue with yet another epic gamer mining session right after crafting the silver armor set, which should have been crafted before since it could have helped me with those few attempts where I actually did not win, in case you got gaslighted before. The Rampart of Deities was all mine, as well as the Auric Tesla armor set, which was the final upgrade that I could get before the few final bosses. was just the same dialogue where I mentioned that I am the best Terraria player humanity has ever seen, and where Drayden tells me that maybe I should try get Fixed Boy, then start bragging about an unexisting skill that I keep on mentioning that I have. The Exomex fight was, again, really easy, and I definitely had zero trouble no-hitting all these guys, being the best at dodging. Yeah, the best Terraria player as mentioned. It's just as if I wanted to taste the projectile. Well, enough sarcasm, it's time to continue with the Exomex. Enjoy! After almost dying to Artemis and Apollo for one more time, I knew that I was getting closer and closer to the end of this let's play that got me to feel the entire spectrum of emotions, from happiness to sadness, from enthusiasm to madness, from hope to depression, from being all hyped that I'm making a brand new let's play to willing to quit uploading for yet another time. However, don't die horses when dogs want. Let's wrap this up, let's defeat Supreme Calamitas as well, and defeat Supreme Calamitas I definitely did, with at least one brother respawning after both of them got killed. Yeah, it was bad, but I forgot something. It was the Drayden Forge, along with a weapon that I will get to talk about a lot in the near future. This is the Cosmic Immaterializer, an exo weapon that has a long crafting tree, an exo weapon so good that this will actually be the attempt where I defeat Supreme Calamitas. While this was definitely not my best fight, I am really glad that it was finally over. Supreme Calamitas has been defeated, and this is how yet another let's play is over. Or is it really? Not yet, this still goes on as I still have to check out some stuff. I checked the shadow spec weapons and I got really interested in using the universe splitter, which spawns some good looking circle, followed by some lasers that I am 100% sure deal like 10 million damage, followed by this Omega Flowy beam from Undertale. Pretty cool, huh? I was also interested in the Flamsteed ring, since being a Giga Mech always seemed like a cool idea in Terraria. Then there was the Angelic Alliance, a summoner accessory that I know it is busted, but I still had no idea about its maximum potential. Want to see the Universe Splitter combined with the Angelic Alliance? This is so cool! However, I was still not immortal. I still had to defeat the Exomex for one more time and it was way easier with all these new endgame items. Some more Auricore mining later, I also defeated Supreme Calamitas for one more time and it was coming all together. It was the time to craft the last armor set to be worn in this run, the Shadow Spec armor set. This adventure has been so good so far, but it was not over yet as I still had to go in the depths of the abyss in order to do this. Honestly, I don't want to say anything about what happened in here, I will just let you watch the magic happen. What the actual hell was this fight? I didn't understand anything, but here we go. Now, there will be one last task before this could end and it was all caused by an item from the depths of the abyss. I will proudly present to you the Master Deathmode Summoner Boss Rush. A rock. This is how yet another let's play ends. I would love to put it on a display, and not only that, I would also love to display all the good weapons that carried me through the endgame stage, and now I can finally say that this house is complete. This is the mod list, and now take a moment and appreciate that I know Terraria command lines. 272 deaths, pretty much, but it's totally fair. This was really fun, but it was also tiring, and I honestly want to take a short break from Calamity. It's as if I would like to start building in the Terraria 1.0 world or something like that, you know?